Breaking right now on Morning News Now, the shutdown is over. Late last night, President Trump signing a funding bill to reopen the government after an historic 43-day-long shutdown. House lawmakers voting to pass the legislation. Though just hours before it was signed, Democrats and Republicans still at odds over health care reform.
We feel very relieved tonight. The Democrat shutdown is finally over. The Democrats created it. The Democrats broke it. The Democrats are driving your cost up. Who are you going to trust to fix health care? It's the Republican Party.
Now, with federal employees set to go back to work, new questions about how long it'll take to get back to normal. We'll take you to Washington. Also this morning, President Trump under renewed scrutiny for his past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein after House Democrats released emails from the late convicted sex offender's estate. Now the White House pushing back as a bipartisan push to release all the Epstein documents regains momentum. We'll bring you the latest. Plus, outbreak concerns, health officials sounding the alarm about a severe strain of the flu after an unprecedented surge in cases abroad. Why doctors are warning this year's flu shot may not be enough to protect you. And it's being called artificial intelligence. This morning, controversy growing over a Billboard #1 country song powered by AI. The hit track now getting millions of streams online. We'll give you a listen as real-life musicians get vocal about the growing trend. It sounds like a real musician.
It does, and he looks like a real musician there as well, too. So we'll dive into that controversy. Good to have you with us this morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to begin this morning in Washington, where after 43 days of political gridlock, the longest government shutdown in American history is now over.
Last night, President Trump signed a spending bill into law. It funds most federal agencies through January and keeps money flowing to vital food assistance programs like SNAP through September. His signature came shortly after the funding package was approved by the House.
On this vote, the yeas are 222, the nays are 209. The bill is passed. The motion is adopted.
6 Democrats crossed the aisle, joining all but 2 Republicans in voting yes. But the rest of the Democratic Party is fuming because the bill does not include any action on their key issue, funding for health care subsidies. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock is standing by for us at Newark Airport. He has a look at what the end of the shutdown means for travelers now that federal aviation officials are pausing plans to increase those flight cancellations. First, let's go to NBC's Alice Barr in Washington. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. So now the great unwind from all the consequences begins, and it starts at airlines, warning they're going to need some time to adjust their schedules, maybe about a week to get back to normal. While a USDA spokesperson said most states would get the funds they need to reload SNAP food benefits within 24 hours of the shutdown ending. With a vote in the House,
the bill is passed,
and a presidential signature overnight, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is now over.
The federal government will now resume normal operations.
Furloughed federal workers getting back on the job today after 43 days. They and those who worked without pay waiting to hear when their back pay checks will arrive. As airlines work to return to full capacity, the FAA freezing flight reductions at 6% instead of the planned 10% by Friday, with easing staffing shortages set to gradually unsnarl weeks of delays and cancellations.
I think it's horrible how politicians, all of them, use us as pawns.
SNAP assistance will also grind back into gear for the millions of Americans still waiting for their full November payments, turning to food banks instead.
Massive increases in families needing our assistance.
As the consequences unwind, the two parties pointing blame at each other.
Absolutely no question in anybody's mind now that the Democrats were responsible for this.
Donald Trump and Republicans made the decision to shut the government down. Would rather do that than provide health care that's affordable.
As Democrats face their own divisions over the deal moderates in the Senate reached with Republicans that did not include health care reforms, an issue Republicans say they're now ready to address with the government back in business. top Republican promised a vote on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits Democrats had been holding out for, but Republicans largely oppose. President Trump again floated the idea of giving money directly to Americans instead, though there are no details on how that would work, and the clock is ticking until government funding expires again at the end of January.
Yeah, so if the health care issue isn't addressed, then what are the odds we see another shutdown when the funding expires early next year?
That is exactly the question and exactly the rub. It depends on how much progress could be made in the intervening weeks on a solution for health care. At the start of the year, Americans on Obamacare are going to see those potential doubling or tripling in their insurance premiums if the subsidies are not extended. And Democrats may use that as evidence to say they need to wage this fight again. Republicans have long opposed Obamacare. They don't want to own these cost increases, but they do say they're ready to negotiate now that the shutdown is over. For what alternative is not clear.
All right, Alice Barr in Washington, thank you.
Now, even though the shutdown is over, we are still feeling those lingering travel impacts. The Department of Transportation has announced that 6% of scheduled flights will still be canceled today at dozens of the nation's busiest airports. But the plan for that number to go up to 10% has now been scrapped. Federal officials say that's in part due to stronger staffing levels and a rapid decline in the number of air traffic controllers calling out. So as we ramp up towards a busy holiday travel period, here's NBC News correspondent Sam Brock at Newark Airport with more on what to expect.
Joe and Savannah, good morning. It does appear that the worst case scenario when it comes to holiday travel has been avoided. As we've seen, there's that shutdown deal in place, which means that air traffic controllers, some of whom had been calling out sick, are now effectively back on the job. And of course, as you mentioned a second ago, that 6% freeze in terms of mandatory flight reductions at 40 airports around the country, that's where things stand there as well. As you look around at FlightAware and see that there's roughly 1,000 flights nationwide that have been canceled to start the day, it's kind of baked in, right, with that 6% figure at Newark. Almost exactly 6% of flights are canceled this morning, but not even 1% delayed. So that's good news there. As you look over my shoulder, you see the security lines are moving. There are not sort of those teeming lines that we've seen at airports throughout the course of the last week. Here is the key metric that you want to keep an eye on this morning: staffing triggers. When you don't have enough controllers, that they have to reduce the volume of flights in and out of airports. Right now, according to the FAA's website, there are none listed. Now, this is something that Secretary of Transportation Duffy had pointed out. At its peak, the staffing triggers this past Saturday were 81. Then it was down to 11 on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday, none to start the day. This is the trend line that you would like to see. Now, Delta's CEO Ed Bastian was on CNBC yesterday. He says his expectations are that things will be back to normal probably by this weekend. But all this lays the groundwork for potentially a resumption to normal operations. The FAA and Secretary Duffy say they're watching the situation very carefully, but if things remain stable, we could be seeing those mandatory reductions pulled in the coming days. We'll have to wait and see, but right now, positive signs here in Newark. Guys, let me send it back to you.
Some good news there, Sam. Thank you.
Another big story now. The White House is pushing back at newly released emails from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. Those messages are drawing fresh scrutiny over the relationship between the president and the convicted sex offender.
Yeah, the House Oversight Committee released thousands of documents from Epstein's estate yesterday, including emails sent from 2011 to 2019 that mention President Trump by name. In one message released by Democrats sent to his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein said, quote, "The dog that hasn't barked is Trump." NBC News has not independently verified those emails. Well, in a post to Truth Social, President Trump called the scandal a, quote, hoax, adding that it was a way for Democrats to distract from the shutdown.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin is in Washington with the latest on this. Julie, good morning. So we should be clear, there's no smoking gun in these documents that President Trump committed any crimes, but they are calling into question the extent of his knowledge of Epstein's crimes. So what are some of the standout lines concerning the president in these emails? And tell us more he is responding.
Yeah, guys, this is new because the president had said all this time that he didn't know about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, though they were from the same area. They were friends. The AG said similar, that Trump had nothing to do with any of her or Epstein's dealings with these underage girls, these victims. Another one of these 3 emails is also interesting. If we can pull it up. It's from Jeffrey Epstein to journalist Michael Wolff in 2019 when Epstein was already prosecuted. It says, Maxwell to stop. Now, we obviously are still trying to parse what the exact context of these emails are. As you noted, the House Oversight Committee Republicans on that panel released a tranche of 23,000 emails that point to all different kinds of interactions that Epstein had with different male figures, and not just Trump, of course, with other presidents. And so there was really a lot of information that was released yesterday. And I want to note, guys, that this all came from the Epstein estate, which the Oversight Committee led by Republicans had subpoenaed earlier this summer. And they, of course, are turning over all of these documents, which the committee, I'm told, plans to make public at some point.
Julie, so this all came to be after Democrat Adelita Grijalva was sworn into the House of Representatives finally yesterday after the 7-week delay. And then she became the decisive signature that was needed to force a vote to release all of the Justice Department's Epstein files, a vote the White House may have tried to dissuade some members from supporting. What can you tell us on that front?
Yeah, the White House, according to our reporting, had direct contact with particularly the Republican women that have signed on to this discharge petition. Just quickly to refresh our viewers, this is different than the House Oversight Committee investigation. This petition was led by a bipartisan duo, a Republican and a Democrat in the House. It essentially forces Speaker Johnson to trigger a vote to then force the Department of Justice to release all of these files. I should note that it also has to pass the Senate before that can happen, and there's no indication at this point that they would even put it on the floor. But I want you to take a listen to what Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, had to say about the perhaps moments of pressure that they tried to exude on these women, including Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Nancy Mace. Watch this.
Why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release?
It show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency?
Now, they weren't necessarily briefed, and Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, did also say or allude to some meeting that was happening in the Situation Room concerning this entire process. So that was certainly interesting. Now, I will note that Lauren Boebert, Nancy Mace, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they all still kept their signatures on this petition. Mace saying she was playing phone tag with the president when we asked her about it last night. Ultimately, they stayed on. The discharge petition hit 218, and we could see a vote on that soon.
Yeah, I mean, Speaker Johnson said that we're going to see a vote on this, it looks like, next week. And we know it's a vote the GOP has been resisting for some time. I mean, this is going to put Congress on the record on this issue. Explain what happens next and what do the House rules say?
Yeah, this is going to be certainly a moment of friction displayed publicly on this issue, because for months now, and remember, it was the president and his allies when he was campaigning the second time around that sort of put this back into the ether. That's why this is so prevalent, especially in the MAGA space, and Democrats are obviously taking advantage of it. But nonetheless, Speaker Johnson saying that he's actually going to trigger this vote next week, which is interesting. Maybe he doesn't want this to hang out there any longer than it needs to, because the process gives him more time. There are 7 legislative days in which this discharge petition needs to, quote unquote, ripen, essentially just baked into the rules. And then Speaker Johnson would have an additional 2 days before he needs to put it on the floor. So yesterday we were of the opinion that he would delay this as long as possible, perhaps not putting it on the floor until after Thanksgiving in December. Apparently he wants to get it over with. I will also note, guys, I've spoken to Republican members who maybe didn't sign on to the discharge petition, but are ready to vote for it on the floor. So it's going to be interesting either way. And John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, the top Republican, we've asked him multiple times what his plans are with this petition in the Senate. We have not seen the kind of work on this issue as we've seen in the House, with a committee investigating it there as well. And he said that is to be determined. Guys,
stay tuned. Julie Sirkin, thank you so much. Now, these emails released by the House Oversight Committee are spotlighting the ties between President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. It's a relationship that goes back decades and ended abruptly. To give this story more context, NBC News senior Washington correspondent, News Now anchor Hallie Jackson, has a look back at their history.
President Trump, for years, distancing himself from convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I had a falling out with him a long time ago.
In the Oval Office in 2019, making clear his feelings on Epstein at that point.
I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
The president has long denied wrongdoing with regard to his connection with Epstein, but acknowledged the two crossed paths in Palm Beach back in the 90s. NBC News archival video from 1992 shows Mr. Trump with Epstein at a Mar-a-Lago party alongside cheerleaders for the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Mr. Trump greeting guests, including Epstein.
Come on in. Go inside.
The two chatting and gesturing to those in front of them. At one point, it appears Mr. Trump leans over and tells Epstein she's hot. The video, taken more than a decade before Epstein's plea deal, which made him register as a sex offender in Florida. Between 1993 and 1997, flight logs released in the trial of Epstein's now convicted associate Ghislaine Maxwell show that Mr. Trump flew on Epstein's plane multiple times. In 2002, Mr. Trump told New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Epstein claiming to author Michael Wolff in 2017 that the two men were, at one time, very close.
That was close to straight.
The two ended up having a falling out in 2004, according to people who spoke with the Washington Post, apparently partly over competition for an oceanfront property in Florida. The president has confirmed the friendship ended, and this summer blamed Epstein for hiring away spa workers at Mar-a-Lago, including Virginia Roberts Giuffre, the most prominent Epstein accuser, who died by suicide earlier this year.
He took people that worked for me, and I told him don't do it anymore, and he did it. And I said, stay the hell out of here.
President Trump is not the only powerful person who spent time with Epstein. Former President Bill Clinton, former VP Al Gore, Bill Gates, all named in court documents as being connected to Epstein. There's been no evidence that any of these people have been involved in Epstein's crimes. None have faced charges, and they've denied any wrongdoing. All as the president remains insistent that it's a non-story.
Really? I think it's enough.
With the spotlight in Washington still shining brightly.
Allie Jackson, thank you so much.
Let's now bring in NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. He's also the co-author of Fight Inside the Wildest Battle for the White House. John, good morning. Always great to have you. So the White House was pressed following the House Oversight Committee's release of these documents from the Epstein estate, those emails. Let's hear a little bit more about what Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said yesterday. We'll talk on the other side.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party.
President Trump also posted on social media about the situation. He was quick to deflect and really place blame on Democrats for bringing up Epstein, and then pivoted to the government shutdown in this post. The Democrats did release these emails practically the minute the shutdown was over. But does the story sort of now switch to this? Does this sort of start to consume Washington for the foreseeable future?
I think it's going to be something that plays a little bit on the back burner, as it has for most of this year, but for a long time. It doesn't seem like it's something that's likely to go away quickly for the president for a couple of reasons. Number one, there's going to be a House vote at some point on whether to require the Justice Department to release all of its Epstein files. And then even beyond that, there will be questions about whether the Senate's going to take it up. If those files ever do get released, which they haven't, there will be another tranche of things to look at for reporters and for the public. And then, of course, if they aren't released by the Justice Department, then it continues to be an ongoing story for President Trump.
So, John, I mean, the release of these documents does come at an inopportune time for President Trump. His administration continues to deal with concerns from Americans about the economy, specifically affordability and health care. We also saw Democrats sweep those key elections last week. Walk us through some of your reporting and how the Epstein files are rekindling an old political problem for the president. As you put it, the president just can't seem to escape Epstein.
Right. And, one of the senior White House officials told our Monica Alba just a couple months ago that the problem is no matter what they release, there are more questions after the release than there were before. And so, this is something that, again, you see all these old pictures. This is something that has been in the ether for a long time. And the unique thing about it is that for a long time, it was the MAGA base, it was Trump's political base that was very interested in these Epstein files because they believed what the Epstein files would show is that there was a cocoon of powerful elites around Jeffrey Epstein who protected him, and that they were largely Democratic figures. You saw in Hallie Jackson's reporting before that there are connections between Epstein and former President Bill Clinton, former Vice President Al Gore, and others. And so the idea was that Democrats were going to be hurt by this, and the MAGA base became very attached to it. And so you've got not only Democrats pushing on this, but you've also got some Republicans in Congress and a whole lot of Republicans sort of in the rank and file out in the country.
John, if we could switch to one other piece of news before we let you go. We learned yesterday from the White House that it's unlikely that key federal, this labor report data, that was impacted by the government shutdown, and it now might not be released at all. The White House is blaming Democrats for this as well, saying that they might have, quote, permanently damaged the federal statistical system. Is this, in fact, the case? Explain this to us.
Well, there have been government shutdowns before, and the federal, whatever that set of words you just said was, the federal statistical system has gone on. So certainly the White House would prefer not to release jobs numbers from the last couple of months. And the reason that they would prefer not to release that is that the jobs numbers and a lot of the economic data doesn't look good. And we know that because there are private assessments.
John Allen, thanks as always.
The mother of a 9-year-old girl who hasn't been seen in more than a month was in a California courtroom yesterday. She's facing a charge that's not related to her daughter's mysterious disappearance. While investigators are still desperately searching for her daughter, Melody, they say that Ashley Buzzard remains uncooperative. NBC News correspondent Steve Patterson has the latest.
40-year-old Ashley Buzzard appearing before a judge, all while a blistering multi-state manhunt for her missing daughter moves forward.
We're entering a not guilty plea.
Buzzard pleading not guilty to one charge of felony false imprisonment, a judge releasing her with a GPS monitor.
You're released on release.
The charge unrelated to Melody's disappearance. The accuser in Buzzard's case, Tyler Brewer, says he's known Ashley for years and went to her home to help with the search. When he tried to leave, he says Buzzard threatened and held him against his will. In a now deleted social media post, he wrote, Miss Buzzard became visibly distressed after sharing information she appeared to regret disclosing. A box cutter was produced, and despite multiple requests to be allowed to exit the home, I was not immediately permitted to leave. Authorities arrested Buzzard Friday. Her daughter now missing for more than a month.
Investigators are continuing to reach out to Ashley to try to give her every opportunity that we can for her to let us know where Melody is.
Has her cooperation with the investigation changed at all since she's been in custody?
Her cooperation has not changed.
Surveillance video shows Ashley with her daughter in disguise, both appearing to be wearing wigs. The pair seen in a white Chevy Malibu on October 7th. The rental car's license plate swapped during the trip. Melody was last seen on October 9th, spotted near the Utah-Colorado border, as investigators say they're committed to bringing her home. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Let's get you to weather now. It's another cold start of the day here in New York, but high temperatures are expected in other parts of the country. Let's check our forecast with our Angie Lassman here in studio. Hey, Angie, good morning.
Hi, Savannah. Good morning to you. We've still got the seasonal conditions settling in across the east, but notice really 2/3 of the country running away warm for this time of year. We're going to actually see some record highs potentially as the day goes on. We've got those potentials stretching from Texas up through the Rockies, out through the Intermountain West. 77 degrees in Pueblo today. We are running more than 20 degrees above normal across parts of Montana, Utah, even Phoenix, 87, Minneapolis sitting at 57 for your high temperature today. So it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, and more of those records will be likely here as we get into your day tomorrow. So if you were looking for the milder conditions across the southeast or even the Midwest in the Ohio Valley, you're going to get them as we get into tomorrow too. 57 for Columbus, 72 for Atlanta, still hanging on to those 80s for Amarillo, San Angelo, and Tucson tomorrow. And as far north as the northern plains, we're still going to be sitting into those upper 70s, so above normal temperatures. Rapid City is expected to be 30 degrees above normal for tomorrow. As we get through the rest of our work week and into the weekend and early next week, we'll start to see things kind of dialing back and becoming more mild. So you get the 70s on Saturday in Cincinnati, but notice the mid-50s return for Sunday and Monday. It's the 50s on Saturday in Minneapolis, but the low 40s return by the time we get back to our next work week. And you get the picture. We kind of deal with that across the board for the east here as we get through the weekend and into next week. It's 50s for New York City. Meanwhile, we've got quite an active kind of pattern setting up out west. This western storm is bringing a whole lot of rain to folks on that coast, and this is going to leave us with the potential for some flooding through Friday. Here's those flood alerts that are up. Anywhere from 1 to 4 inches of rainfall expected, and we know that the most vulnerable areas are going to be those burn scar areas, so we'll watch for the flash flooding conditions there. And you can see the torrential downpours and mountain snow are really here to stay. This is what we're dealing with through the day today. Wind gusts up to 50 miles per hour, and in the mountains up to 100 miles per hour. It'll subside in Northern California tomorrow, but it does persist for Southern California. So a bummer for folks out west when it comes to the rain and flooding concerns for sure.
Absolutely. Ooh, and still chilly here. Angie, thank you so much. Well, there's much more to come here on Morning News Now, including a chart-topping controversy taking over the music world.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk.
That song brought to you by artificial intelligence. Later this hour, more on the trend that has real-life musicians sounding off. First, though, after the break, growing tension between the U.S. and Colombia over the Trump administration's deadly crackdown on drugs. We'll be right back. We are back with the latest on the growing tensions between the Trump administration and Colombia as the U.S. continues to build up its military presence in the Caribbean. Well, this morning, Colombia's president is defending his country's decision to suspend intelligence sharing with the U.S. until America stops its deadly attacks on alleged drug boats in the region. NBC News chief international correspondent Richard Engel actually sat down with the Colombian president, and he joins us now from Colombia with this interview and with more information. Richard, good morning. What did the president have to say about these U.S. strikes, and what reasons did he give for stopping intelligence sharing with the Trump administration?
Good morning, Savannah. So let me just set it up by putting this president into context somewhat. So President Gustavo Petro has had a very unique background. He has gone from being a left-wing guerrilla fighter to a university lecturer to ultimately president, and he's taken a very strong stance against what the Trump administration is doing in this region. And he said that the reason he took this controversial step just a few days ago to suspend the intelligence sharing with the United States, and by the way, going back to the 1980s when Pablo Escobar was a major figure here in Colombia, the United States and Colombia have had very strong relations, very strong intelligence sharing. But President Petro said that he suspended it because he doesn't support what the U.S. is doing, particularly attacking the boats that the U.S. claims are heading to the United States carrying narcotics. He says that these are extrajudicial killings, that intelligence is important to stop the drug trade, but that intelligence shouldn't be used for killing, and that the people on these boats aren't the drug kingpins, that they are poor fishermen exploited for their poverty, and that they are effectively victims of a horrible trade.
Richard, Colombia's neighbor Venezuela is preparing for a potential U.S. attack on its soil, something we've heard President Trump speak about. Given this U.S. military buildup that we've been seeing in the Caribbean, what does Mr. Petro make of Venezuela's leader, Nicolas Maduro? Is he concerned about a possible U.S.-Venezuela conflict?
So if you see Venezuelan state television right now, they are now in hyper-patriotic mood. They are showing images of volunteers being rounded up, being given weapons. Venezuela is clearly trying to show its population, the world, the United States, that it is ready to defend against, quote, American imperialism. And President Trump has tried to associate Colombia's president, Gustavo Petro, with Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro. But in our interview, the Colombian president was critical of Nicolas Maduro and said that he does not believe he is a legitimate leader, and said that Venezuela hasn't had a legitimate leader for some time.
Richard Engel, thank you very much for bringing us this interview and for joining us this morning. Always great to have you. Well, developing news out of southern Peru, local police say a bus crashed and fell into a ravine, killing dozens on board. NBC News international correspondent Molly Hunter joins us with our world news in 60 seconds. Molly, good morning.
Savannah, good morning to you. That's right. Terrifying news out of this southern part of Peru. As you mentioned, Reuters reports that at least 37 people were killed and dozens injured after a bus crash. It happened in a very mountainous region, according to authorities. The bus veered off the edge of the road, plunging into a ravine. You see those pictures right there. Absolutely terrifying. Now, moving to India, in Delhi this morning, 3 days after a car exploded at the Red Fort right in the center of the capital, killing 8 people, according to authorities. Investigators are now looking into any links between the explosion and the recent arrests of 7 men in Kashmir, according to the BBC. They're also checking links to a recent raid that seized 2,900 kilograms of explosives just outside the capital. And finally, the official uniforms of the Milan Cortina 2026 Winter Games have been unveiled. These are the uniforms that will be worn by the 18,000 volunteers, the rest of the workforce, and the organizing committee, designed in collaboration with Solomon. They look pretty sleek, definitely warm, and the committee has billed them as not just technical clothing, saying they represent identity, belonging, and team spirit. Pretty cool, Savannah.
Pretty cool. I'll see you there, Molly. We're so excited. Thank you. Well, coming up, a warning from doctors this flu season about a new severe strain of the virus that's already spreading abroad. But you need to know to stay healthy. This is Morning News Now. We're back now with a new warning from doctors that this year's flu season could be the worst in a decade. It's because of a new variant. It's being described as harsh and unprecedented. It's difficult to get a picture of how and where it's spreading because the CDC hasn't updated its data or guidance for weeks due to layoffs at the agency and, of course, the government shutdown. But over in the UK, doctors are reporting 3 times more flu cases than last year. And in Japan, some schools have even closed. For more, let's bring in NBC News medical contributor, our friend Dr. Kavita Patel. Dr. Patel, great to have you as always. So do we know why this strain is so concerning? What makes it different?
Yeah, Savannah, so we're getting information, as you mentioned, from the Southern Hemisphere, Japan, Hawaii, not from the CDC since September 30th because of the government shutdown. So we're flying a little bit blinder in what's actually happening in the United States. But the current strain that's out is a little bit more dominant. Usually we see several strains, flu A, flu B, and then one kind of emerges. And in this case, from what we're seeing in other countries, we have one strain, H3N2, that's emerging. And it's evading the vaccine, not 100%, but it's making the current vaccine just slightly less effective. It's a little bit easier to give and get. And they think that the vaccine that we've got circulating around the world is just a slightly less effective than comparing to other years.
And so I understand, right, that the strain showed up after this year's flu vaccine was developed. So is it going to be effective at all against this?
It is. So that's the good news. So I don't want people to kind of worry that this year's flu shot that you should have gotten, I got mine a couple of weeks ago, is not effective at all. It is, and especially effective in the weeks after you get it. So that's why we think that getting it right now could be the optimal timing, because we're starting to kind of consider that the United States could see an earlier flu wave. Sometimes we see flu lasting out as long as April, May, even into the spring, as you will. But we're thinking that this is going to be an earlier flu season and a harder flu season. Remember, last year was one of the worst, 600,000 hospitalizations. Unfortunately, 600,000 hospitalizations and unfortunately too many deaths, 250 pediatric deaths, a high in about 30 years.
Wow. If we are healthy, we don't have any underlying medical issues, it's still important to get a flu shot, right?
It is. Everyone 6 months and above can get a flu shot. CDC has reinforced this. This has been reinforced by experts worldwide. So I want people to make sure. And there's all types of flu shots. If you're allergic to eggs, if you're older, there might be a more kind of strong kind of strain that we give to people. So talk to your doctor. And then I just want to remind people that we have antivirals. We have medications that within the first 48 hours can actually help decrease the flu symptoms. And then a third reminder, Savannah, getting the flu shot doesn't mean you don't get the flu. It helps protect us against the things we just talked about, hospitalizations and deaths.
So obviously important. Dr. Patel, what else can we do to try to keep from getting sick at all?
All right, so remember, flu is actually different than COVID. It's pretty sticky and lasts on surfaces. However, the things that we did in COVID and all the things we talk about with viral illnesses apply here. So washing hands, and then because of just how long a flu virus can sit on counters and surfaces, washing down. If you've got someone in your household who's sick, just making sure that you're cleaning any surfaces and that you're doing all the things that we usually try to do. I've brought back out my masks for crowded spaces, planes, trains, kind of crowded. I'm sure you and I have seen people coughing and sneezing. So get everybody, including the kids, just remind people to kind of take that into the elbow. just try to do what you can to protect yourselves and others around you. Because remember, getting the shot, it's not just for you, it's for your community as well.
All right. Good reminders there, Dr. Patel. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Well, staying with medical news, day by day, the role of artificial intelligence is transforming healthcare. Some doctors say it's now providing them with new tools that can help identify and track serious conditions like seizures or sepsis faster and earlier. NBC News medical fellow Dr. Akshay Syal has a look at these new advancements.
This is what doctors at the Cleveland Clinic hear when a patient develops sepsis. A bold alert for the #1 leading cause of hospital deaths across the U.S., impacting millions.
Sepsis is a life-threatening medical emergency caused by the body's response to infection.
But now, doctors say there's a new tool to help fight it off. It's not an antibiotic or a medical device, it's AI. Just one example of how it's transforming medicine. Here, Dr. James Morrison says helping identify sepsis faster than ever before.
The patient might come in reporting chest pain or something like that. You're going to be thinking of a heart attack. Sepsis might not be the first thing you think of. While you're focusing on the patient, talking to them about what's going on, and the data starts to come in, the AI can be working on at the same time to say, does any of this fit with a pattern of sepsis?
The Cleveland Clinic, which has invested in this technology, showed us how it works in real time from a digital dummy patient, pulling data like heart rate, temperature, and oxygen levels.
All of those are indicative to us that the patient could have a new infection or sepsis.
Last year, across our system, we had over 30,000 sepsis cases, about 2,000 deaths, and we've seen that our sepsis efforts have driven down those deaths by hundreds per year.
If their tool is like a security system constantly monitoring your body, in North Carolina, a spine surgeon is using AI differently.
It's how I've often described it to patients is it tells me where I am, even though I may not know with my own eyes, just like a GPS in your car would do.
Dr. Brett Rockos at Duke Health says this new technology gives him a 3D view of the patient's spine in real time. Made by Proprio, advanced sensors work to digitally replicate a patient's spinal anatomy. Dr. Rocco says the tool can help shorten complicated hours-long surgeries.
What that means for the patient is they're having less anesthetic, less time asleep on the operating table, less bleeding.
The AI tool is FDA approved, already used in over 100 surgeries, with the company saying more hospitals are now set to test it. Meanwhile, back in Ohio, the Cleveland Clinic will also start testing the world's first neurological AI model that's not trained on text, but on electrical brain waves.
Seizures, there storms of electricity happening in the brain.
Dr. Imad Najim runs the hospital's epilepsy center.
Wow. This is the central monitoring unit. What we're looking at are recordings, brainwave recordings, Ohio, Florida, or even in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates.
You can see people here in the UAE.
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a patient who just had a seizure now.
That voice we just heard.
Yeah.
Monitoring all these screens isn't easy with the human eye, but AI is always on and can more quickly recognize subtle patterns.
We may be seeing something which is difficult to ascertain that it is a seizure or not. Our AI model will be able to detect it as early as 40, 50 seconds before.
Kristen was diagnosed with epilepsy in 2016, but says despite the meds, her seizures haven't stopped. Now she's here looking for answers.
They're bringing artificial intelligence or AI into that EEG. How would you feel about something like that?
That'd be really cool. If it's something in as much as it's looking at those patterns to see if it can find like a trace, that would be great. I don't want it to obviously take the role of clinicians who are there to help advise and make like ethical decisions.
And it comes as people turn to AI for medical diagnoses, the next stage of what's dubbed cyberchondria, something experts caution. And the industry is also grappling with how to address strict data privacy laws. But doctors say it can still assist.
Use artificial intelligence to complement human intelligence and using human intelligence to make the final decision.
So it's still humans treating humans, now with a helping hand. Dr. Akshay Syal, NBC News, Cleveland, Ohio.
Welcome back. Time now for some Wall Street headlines this morning. Alibaba is reportedly getting ready to flex its AI muscles with the relaunch of a mobile app.
NBC's Emily Lorsch joins us with that and some other money headlines. Emily, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah. Another company is stepping up its AI game. Alibaba is unveiling plans to overhaul its mobile app to compete more directly with ChatGPT. The Chinese tech giant is renaming its app to Qwen and rolling out new AI-powered shopping tools. The revamped app will stay free for now. Alibaba plans to eventually build an overseas version, and the goal is to have Qwen be a fully functioning AI agent. And Toyota is revving up its U.S. manufacturing, announcing plans to invest up to $10 billion in the next 5 years. The move comes as production officially begins at its new $14 billion battery plant in North Carolina, expected to create more than 5,000 jobs. Toyota also says it will provide on-site childcare, a pharmacy, medical clinic, and fitness center for workers. Finally, Starbucks' popular Red Cup Day is back today, but it is coming with some turbulence. Unionized workers in at least 40 cities have launched an open-ended strike as they're demanding better pay and benefits. Still, Starbucks says the vast majority of stores will stay open and staffed, offering customers free reusable Red Cup with any holiday drink. The event marks the unofficial start of the holiday season at Starbucks, but this day also clearly is highlighting tensions between the coffee giant and many of its workers. Now, what kind of a colleague would I be, guys, if I talked about this beautiful Red Cup and the official start of the holiday season and didn't bring you guys some coffee?
Wow. Emily comes bearing Red Cups.
Oh my goodness. 95% recycled material that it's made from, and you can go back, you get a discount if you use the Red Cup.
So today when you go in, you get this for free with certain orders.
With certain orders,
cool.
Holiday orders.
Wow, I do love it.
Yeah.
Hopefully folks use them.
Cheers.
And
It's adorable.
Cheers. Cheers. This is our morning
Coffee,
cheers.
coffee, yay. And for investigative purposes, right?
Exactly. We appreciate this.
Thanks,
hopefully be
Emily.
expense. All right. A new trend taking shape in the music industry that's raising concerns for many. Some are calling it artificial intelligence. It refers to AI-generated artists and songs climbing to the top spots on the charts. For example, take a look at Billboard's Country Digital Song Sales, which is a list of the most downloaded tracks in the U.S.
This week's #1 song is called Walk My Walk, but it's by an AI artist named Breaking Rust. Take a listen.
You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't changing my tone, ain't changing my song. I was born this way, been loud too long.
Well, that song alone, catchy, right? It's got more than 3 million streams on Spotify, and it's unclear who or maybe what is behind the music. It is the first time an AI country singer has topped a Billboard chart. But Rust isn't the only AI artist climbing the charts. Billboard said at least 6 others have debuted with rankings in recent months.
For more on this, on what it means for human artists, we're joined by Marcus K. Dowling. He's an award-winning music reporter for the Tennessean, that's Nashville's hometown newspaper. Marcus, good to have you with us. So it's important to note we don't know for certain who produced this song or which tools were used, but Breaking Rust gets more than 2 million listeners a month on Spotify. So what else do we know about this this group person? I'm putting it in quotes here, and when its music first started streaming.
Well, for the last 6 months or so, this gentleman, Javier Rivaldo Taylor, has been placing tracks by an AI act, Breaking Rust, online. And this follows, he's been releasing stuff in other genres as well. So it's been a trend for a while now.
Tell us about the reaction, both what people online are saying, but I'd also love to know your reaction. I mean, what do you think about the song? Do you like it?
Well, I've liked Rag and Bone Man. I love Teddy Swims. I love Chris Stapleton. So it falls right in the line with all those songs that I've loved for the last decade of my life. So on that side, without understanding that it's an artificial intelligence artist, I love it. But on the side of it being artificial intelligence, that is certainly troubling. For the last 18 months, the country music industry has been aggressively pursuing action in the AI realm and in the deepfake realm as well. So this is certainly a hot button issue in and around Nashville for sure.
There is another AI singer named Kane Walker. That's a country music name right there. On the Billboard country chart, Walker has 2 songs in the top 10. How are the human country music artists who pour so much time and heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into their music responding to these computer-generated singers who are so quickly topping the charts?
Half and half. AI technology is a part of the national songwriting process. That's something that we can't underscore and not dissuade from the conversation. But on the other side, you're helping humans to sing songs. So when you take that to another level, that's important to consider. The other part of this, that's the canary in the coal mine, is that country music as an industry is nearly 100 years old. So there's tropes and ideas and concepts and beliefs and notions that can be weaved into AI technology probably easier in the country music space than in any other musical space, just because of the respect and renown for the historical lineage of country music as an industry.
Very interesting. Actually, last year, Tennessee was the first state to pass an AI-focused law in this space. It was called the Elvis Act. Tell us what that does and if there's other AI-focused legislation that's been introduced in Congress that we could see.
Absolutely. Well, let's see. In April, I believe, of 2024, Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee released the Ensuring Likeness, Voice, and Image Security Act, the Elvis Act, that passed, and that was largely to protect against ill actors in the AI and deepfake space who are attempting to catfish country music fans of their hard-earned earnings. That's a major issue in the space. It has been for a while. Using AI technology certainly doubles and triples down on that. In Congress, there are two different acts. There's the Train Act that I think you posted up there. There's a couple other things that are on the radar as well. And those are largely, again, AI and no fakes as well. Those are largely AI and deepfake related. The idea of songs now being an issue in that space is something that is newer, obviously, in the last 6 months. That's more of a difficult gray area because the humans who are inputting the data, certainly, they're doing work. So that's the problem there. It's certainly a grayer area, and there's going to be some more work that needs to be done to ascertain how to best maneuver in that space.
Marcus, you are a man after my own heart because you have pictures of Dolly Parton behind you there. And we look at Dolly and we can't help but think about the fact that it's not just her music that's good, it's her story and her personality. Like, we love Dolly. And if you have an AI artist, you don't have that backstory. You don't have that person to connect with. How big of an issue is that, especially in something like country music?
It's the double-edged sword. Number one, people love very specific types of country acts. People love Dolly Parton. People also love Loretta Lynn. They love Patsy Cline. They love even Taylor Swift. And they have very well-defined stories that are easy to replicate, and people you already know love them. The other issue in the space is that you have artists now in the more rootsy Americana space that are important to watch in this conversation. Acts like Tyler Childers, who's the most nominated country act at the Grammys this year. There's also Charlie Crockett. There's Margot Price. There are numerous acts who have very unique stories that expand that storytelling tradition and are important to watch in this case.
Marcus K. Dowling, fascinating conversation. We
Definitely.
appreciate you taking the time to join us this morning.
Quite a talker.
My pleasure. Always glad to be here.
All right, coming up, a spectacular sight not normally seen in our skies.
Yeah, and you might have seen it yourself overnight. Green and pink painting the skies across the U.S. When we come back, more on the phenomenon that brought the northern lights to our own backyard. Stay with us. You're watching Morning News Now.
Welcome back. Let's end the hour with our eyes on the skies. A gorgeous, colorful spectacle lit up the night across the country this week.
And scientists say a powerful geomagnetic storm made the space phenomenon visible as far south as Florida. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda has some of the stunning images for us.
Brilliant shades of red, green, and purple painted the sky from San Francisco Bay to farmland in Wisconsin. Here's a pilot's view over Chicago. Awe-inspiring auroras even stretching unusually far south.
My husband just woke me up because apparently there's northern lights in Florida tonight.
Thanks to the extreme intensity of a geomagnetic storm, when the sun blasts out charged particles at several million miles an hour that bombard Earth's magnetic field. But it's not all about the beauty shots. Experts say these cosmic storms have the potential to disrupt electrical grids, satellites, and GPS communications. It even forced Blue Origin to postpone a spacecraft launch. But for most, the impacts will be limited to stunning skies.
It's kind of a spiritual feeling, kind of almost teary, because it's so beautiful.
Something this grandmother and grandson got to experience together.
She's always talked about it, and being able to fulfill something like that for her was just like It's priceless.
Emily Ikeda, NBC News.
That is sweet, and
I saw it.
And you don't have to go to Iceland in January.
Oh my
so there you go.
gosh. Stunning.
That's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning. Thanks for starting your Thursday with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, pushback and condemnation from the White House. Lawmakers releasing thousands of emails and documents from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. Where President Trump fits into them all and where things stand on the future release of the Epstein files. Also this morning, ready to restart, a historic weeks-long shutdown standoff finally resolved overnight with a single signature from the commander-in-chief. It's after Congress's back-and-forth funding bill narrowly passed the House just hours ago, but not without searing dissent from many progressive Democrats. The party's fight for Americans' health care only beginning as another potential shutdown looms just a few months from now. We've got the latest from Washington and beyond with both good news and bad news for Americans who've had a bone to pick with all that recent air traffic chaos. Plus, thanks but no thanks, one major retailer is taking season's greetings to a whole new level this holiday season. Why Target's talkative new touch has some in-store shoppers saying bah humbug over a little too much Christmas cheer. And later in the hour, the big change coming for a small coin. America's final new penny is pressed, marking the end of an economic era. We'll pay our respects. A little bit of an obituary coming up a little later. Let's begin this hour with new developments surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. President Trump and the White House are pushing back on what they call a hoax after the House Oversight Committee released thousands of documents from the convicted sex offender's estate. That includes emails that reference President Trump by name.
According to one of the 3 email chains released by House Democrats, Epstein claimed President Trump, quote, knew about the girls in a message to journalist Michael Wolff from 2019. NBC News has not independently verified those emails. NBC News Chief White House correspondent Peter Alexander joins us now from the White House with the latest. Peter, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning to both of you. For months, President Trump has tried to block the release of those Epstein files, but now the disclosure of tens of thousands of pages of documents is reigniting, renewing questions about the relationship between the two men. At times, Epstein indicates that he has potentially damaging information on the president, all of it reigniting an issue that the White House has been trying to avoid.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Overnight, President Trump ignoring questions about his longtime relationship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Mr. President, can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today?
The latest round of scrutiny follows the House Oversight Committee releasing more than 20,000 documents from Epstein's estate. They include a 2019 email where Epstein, who would soon be indicted on sex trafficking charges, referenced President Trump, writing, "Of course he knew about the girls," as he asked Ghislaine to stop. That's a reference to Epstein's former girlfriend and co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, who is currently serving 20 years for charges including conspiring to sex traffic minors. In another email from 2011, Epstein telling Maxwell, "I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump," adding, "A victim, whose name is redacted, spent hours at my house with him." The White House says the redacted victim is Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers, who died by suicide earlier this year, but never accused Mr. Trump of any wrongdoing. Epstein continuing to reference Trump in later emails, writing in 2015 to a New York Times reporter, quote, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" The White House pushing back.
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong.
And the president calling the story a hoax on social media, arguing Democrats are trying to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown. While the president has denied any wrongdoing, the Epstein scandal has not gone away. House Speaker Mike Johnson now promising he'll put the future of the Epstein files on the floor for a vote next week, an effort Democrats, along with multiple House Republicans, support. One, Thomas Massey, saying that the White House asked some of them to change course unsuccessfully, urging his colleagues to join the effort.
The record is going to last longer than Trump's presidency.
House Democrats first shared a few of those emails, effectively forcing the Republican House Speaker's hand. One of the Republicans who has supported the release of those Epstein files is Colorado's Lauren Boebert. She was even summoned to the Situation Room, where top officials here pressed their case for her to back off her calls for more information. Back to you, Joan Savannah.
All right, Peter, thank you.
Let's bring in NBC News senior political reporter Jonathan Allen and legal analyst Danny Savalos for more on the political fallout from these emails and the legal impact. Good morning to both of you. John, let's start with you. Release the emails just as the House was coming back into session to vote on an end to that historic government shutdown, something Democrats, many are not thrilled with. How damaging do you think the resurrection of controversy is to the president right now in this moment?
Well, it certainly takes some of the focus away from shutdown. And as you have seen, the president connected those two things yesterday, basically saying the Epstein files. That's exactly what's going on here. The Epstein files have been an issue both for Democrats and for a lot of people in the MAGA base for a long time. But it definitely did have the effect yesterday, all of that discussion of Epstein, of taking away from an issue where the president felt like he was on more solid ground. It's difficult for him to figure out a way out of the Epstein files mess because, as one White House put it to our Monica Alba in August, no matter how much they release, there are always going to be more questions.
Danny, let's bring you in here. So President Trump has maintained he did nothing wrong in relation to Epstein. But from a legal standpoint, how are these emails just in terms of establishing how much the president knew about Epstein's crimes?
Thinking from an evidentiary perspective, these emails don't move the needle very much, at least so far. For example, all the names we've been throwing around, Virginia Giuffre, Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, these are all people that are either deceased or have credibility issues, or they're both deceased and have credibility issues. So that is something that you look at first. Second, the emails, at least so far, we don't have a lot of context. What does it mean to be a dog that hasn't barked? I think that's a phrase that I've never heard before. Maybe someone else has. Maybe someone has some perspective. But without the necessary context, it's not as helpful. And I think Republicans also have a point. The fact that if it was Virginia Giuffre's name that was redacted from the line about spending hours at Epstein's house, that's a little bit problematic in Republicans' eyes because Giuffre publicly said that Donald Trump never did anything untoward to her. So that creates yet another layer of credibility issues.
John, looking ahead next week, looks like House is going to vote on this. Congress is going to be on the record. How do you think this vote is going to go on releasing the files? President Trump usually has a strong command on Republicans, but this issue seems more divisive. There are some key Republicans who just haven't changed their mind on this yet.
Yeah, it would be shocking if this vote failed in the House because, A, there are 218 signatures, and full majority of the House already in favor of it. But in addition to that, there are Republicans, according to our colleagues reporting on Capitol Hill, who are ready to vote for it. Again, if you're a member of Congress and this comes before you, it's one thing to not push for it to come up, but it's another thing to vote against releasing the files. I think there's a lot of political risk in that. So it should pass the House. There's no indication the Senate will take it up at all.
Danny, based on what we've seen so far, whether it's for President Trump or somebody else otherwise, what's the most concerning to you here?
I mean, again, so far, from an evidentiary standpoint, I don't think these are that compelling. That being said, and I should say I've been involved in some Epstein-adjacent civil litigation for would plaintiffs out representing the victims. These emails may be helpful, but based on just what we have so far, you don't need to be a lawyer and know the rules of evidence to know that we have a number of emails with some sort of vague references, and yes, they do clearly Trump, but the question is, what exactly do they mean? And if it's like a Rorschach test that they aren't as clear and compelling as either side might want them to be.
All right. John and Danny, thank you both. Appreciate it.
Meanwhile, the wheels of Washington are starting to turn again this morning after the longest government shutdown in American history officially came to an end. President Trump signed a bill into law last night that fully funds the federal government through the end of January. While relief is now on the way for millions of Americans impacted by the political standoff, there is still a lot of work left for Congress to tackle. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles has more on what comes next. Ryan, good morning.
Joe and Savannah, good morning. Congress finally managed to find its way out of the wilderness after 43 days. The final vote to end this gridlock passed by a narrow margin in the House. In the end, Democrats just did not have the votes to prevent the bill from being passed, but vowed to continue fighting for health care reform.
It was a record no one wanted to break.
Yeah.
But after 43 days, the government shutdown is now officially over.
The bill is passed.
President Trump signing the bill overnight, blaming Democrats for the prolonged standoff.
The Democrats tried to extort our country. When we come up to midterms and other things, don't forget what they've done to our country.
The bill passed 222 to 209, with 6 Democrats voting yes. Most Democrats voted no, accusing the president and congressional Republicans of ignoring a health care crisis by not addressing tax credits tied to the Affordable Care Act that are set to expire.
Either Republicans finally decide to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits this year, or the American people will throw Republicans out of their jobs next year.
But the battle also revealed deep division among Democrats. Some, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are upset their moderate colleagues in the Senate cut a deal with Republicans that did not include health care reforms.
That the lesson that they're learning is that Democrats are weak, and that next time we just need to hurt working people and working Americans more to get them to fold. And I don't want them to learn that lesson.
Republicans, meanwhile, say they are now ready to work to fix health care and address the expiring tax credits.
Is there an opportunity there?
We have to find a solution, and I hope we can do it in a bipartisan fashion.
While the bill does fund portions of the government through September, vast swaths of the government are only funded through January, meaning battles will still need to be waged over long-term funding for the Pentagon, education, Homeland Security, and transportation, leaving open the possibility of another shutdown in just a few months.
The federal government is wasting no time getting back up and running. Several agencies like Health and Human Services and the Department of Interior have already sent workers notices informing them to be back in the office today. Joe and Savannah.
Ryan Nobles, thank you very much.
With the shutdown now over, relief for frustrated flyers could finally be in sight. Call-outs among air traffic controllers have been declining. But with more cancellations again today, the travel trouble isn't over just yet. NBC News correspondent Sam Brock joined us from Newark Airport with more on the flight concerns and the potential hope here. Sam, good morning.
Joe, good morning. Let's take the potential hope. Look, this has been a month of mayhem, really, ever since the federal government implemented those mandatory reductions in flights starting last Friday. The good news here, Joe, that has now been capped at 6%. It was supposed to rise to 8% today and 10% tomorrow. That's not going to happen. The bad news, we are starting the day right now with roughly 1,000 cancellations nationwide. You look over my shoulder in Newark, though, about 6% of flights have been canceled here, right in line with what the federal government is doing. Fewer than 1% of flights are actually delayed, so there's not long lines here. But the big question remains, with the Thanksgiving Day holiday right around the corner, when is air travel going to return to normal?
Despite a vote to end the government shutdown, the ripple effects are still being felt this morning at airports nationwide. Stranded flyers sleeping in terminals.
Right here in this chair.
Others delayed for hours. Some travelers opting to rent a car instead.
So I just gave up on the second flight.
Overnight, the FAA announcing it will freeze flight cancellations at 6%, saying they, quote, will remain in place as the FAA continues to assess whether the system can gradually return to normal operations. The goal, to relieve the stress of staffing shortages, but it's unclear when airlines will be given the green light to resume their full slate of takeoffs.
Overall, I would not recommend traveling right now.
Some 900 flights were canceled Wednesday. That's the lowest number since the FAA reductions began at the nation's 40 busiest airports almost a week ago. A decision Delta's CEO Ed Bastian acknowledged was necessary on CNBC.
Well, there was no question there was a safety risk, and while we didn't like it, we supported the FAA and we supported Secretary Duffy that we had to take proactive action.
Bastian adding he expects weary travelers soon.
By the weekend, I think things should be in good shape.
Southwest Airlines, writing in a letter to employees, it's optimistic that the FAA will allow airlines to resume normal operations within a few days. This as staffing at air traffic control towers, which has been a major source of the strain on the system, has been could see those long within days. Now, the biggest test of the year. Joe, Savannah, the most important thing that we're keeping track of this morning are those staffing triggers, which is to say when you don't have enough air traffic controllers, the flight volume has to be reduced at airports nationwide. Secretary Duffy saying that figure was at 81. That's when it peaked last Saturday, 11 on Tuesday, 4 on Wednesday. This morning, we just checked, it is 0 at the moment, a positive trend line which could ultimately lead to more flights for Americans in the days ahead.
Yeah,
guys, back to you.
Good news with Thanksgiving travel on the horizon. Sam, thank you.
Time now for weather. A big November warm-up is on the way this morning as record high temperatures are possible from Texas to the Rockies.
Angie Lastman has the latest. Angie, good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning. All those folks across the country taking out their jackets over the past week or so, they're going to be putting them away because we've got temperatures well. We're talking 50s today for Minneapolis. We've got 70s across parts of the Rockies, 80s stretching from Houston to Lubbock and out towards Phoenix. These temperatures are way above normal, of course, 10, 20, even close to 30 degrees above normal over the next couple of days, and potentially record-breaking. That goes for today across parts of the Texas Panhandle, up into the Rockies and Intermountain West. And then tomorrow as well, we'll see kind of similar story as our temperatures sit way above normal. We've still got the mid-60s in Minneapolis, so even warmer than what we're expecting today. And folks a little farther east will get in on the action too. So high 50s for Columbus, Atlanta, New Orleans, you'll be into the 70s, still the 80s across that southern tier of the country. We eventually start to moderate out, but that doesn't really happen until we get into, say, the early part of next week. We'll get into the weekend with some mild conditions in Kansas City and Cincinnati and Little Rock. You'll be into those 70s. In Little Rock, you're into the high 70s at that. Similar story for Raleigh. You start into the 70s to mid 70s for the weekend, and by next week, you're back to those mid 60s. We'll see a bigger cool down for the northern tier of this section of the country. That means low 60s for Kansas City by the time Monday rolls around, and 40s will return for Minneapolis both Sunday and Monday. So some chillier air is in place eventually. Meanwhile, we've got quite an active kind of setup across the west where we've got plenty of rain, the potential for strong winds, some additional snow is expected, and we're concerned about flooding. We've got those rainfall totals that could be upwards of 4 to 6 inches in some spots, and these flood watches that you see up now where that brighter green is, those are going to go all the way through the end of the work week. So through today into tomorrow, you can see they extend into parts of interior California and parts of northern California as well as we gear up for more of this heavy rain and potentially torrential downpours at times and additional mountain snow. On top of that, we'll see those really strong wind gusts. I'll show you the wind alerts here in a moment, but gusts up to 50 miles per hour. And of course, at those higher elevations, there'll be potentially triple-digit wind gusts the higher up you go. By tomorrow, the rain will kind of wind down for northern California. We'll still see some of that persisting for southern California. So the flood risk, unfortunately, will remain for folks there. And that takes us right into Saturday. It's going to be a wet one for folks. We've still got that area of low pressure we're going to watch likely develop off the southwest coast, and that brings that rain into folks' backyards there on Saturday for the start of the weekend. We, of course, are concerned about those burn scar areas. In the meantime, a whole lot of wind alerts up and down the coast, into Nevada, into parts of Oregon. We've got 14 million people under those alerts. And check out those wind gusts, anywhere from 40 to 50, 60 miles per hour, guys. We're also going to see, of course, I mentioned those higher elevations, see higher gusts upwards of maybe 100 miles per hour. So dangerous conditions setting up for them for multiple days as we roll into the weekend.
Oh, boy. Right. Thank you. Much more to come on this hour of Morning News Now, including the worshipers turning to artificial intelligence for a higher calling, including an app called Text with Jesus.
First, after the break, missing the target, why some hardcore holiday shoppers are channeling Ebenezer Scrooge, sounding off on Target's new brand of Christmas cheer. We'll explain next. We're back with the latest on tensions brewing between the U.S. and Colombia. The South American country suspended intelligence sharing with the Trump administration over the recent deadly attacks on alleged drug boats. Well, this morning, Colombia's president is defending that intelligence decision. NBC News chief international correspondent Richard Engel spoke with the president, joins us now from the Colombian capital of Bogota. Richard, good morning.
Good morning. So the Colombian president, Gustavo Petro, has a very unique background. He's gone from a left-wing guerrilla fighter to a university lecturer to ultimately president of this country. And he's been very critical of what the Trump administration is doing in Latin America.
With President Trump massing warships and troops in the Caribbean, Venezuela is preparing for war. State-run television is now showing volunteers receiving weapons to fight what the country's authoritarian president, Nicolas Maduro, calls American imperialism. In neighboring Colombia, President Gustavo Petro has suspended intelligence cooperation with the U.S., opposed to deadly American strikes on boats in the region, allegedly carrying narcotics. I met with Mr. Petro in the presidential palace in Bogota for his first interview since that controversial move.
Do you believe that the ships that have been attacked by the United States were carrying drugs?
Maybe or maybe not. We do not know, he said, adding, they are poor boatmen hired by gangsters. The gangsters don't sit on the boats.
A current Colombian military official, a senior official, told me that the most valuable tool that they have to fight against the drug traffickers is intelligence and intelligence sharing. So why would you possibly limit that?
Clave es la inteligencia.
Intelligence is key. The more we coordinate, the better. But intelligence is not for killing, he said.
No es para matar.
President Petro is one of the few world leaders willing to publicly criticize President Trump.
What do you think of President Trump? What do you think history will say about him?
Es un bárbaro.
He's a barbarian, but anyone can change, he said. President Trump has put sanctions on President Petro, putting him in the same league as Venezuela's President Maduro. But Mr. Petro was sharply critical of Maduro.
Do you believe that Maduro is a legitimate leader?
No, yo creo que...
No, I believe there has been no legitimate leadership in Venezuela for some time, he said.
Do you think that the Trump administration is heading toward war?
Nos quiere atemorizar.
He wants to frighten us, he said, warning that a war in Venezuela could spiral out of control.
Secretary Rubio defended the American military buildup in this region and the boat strikes, saying the United States is protecting the country against drugs. Joe?
All right. Richard, thank you.
Let's stay on international news. We have developing news out of Ukraine. An energy corruption probe is causing several top officials to resign.
NBC News International correspondent Molly Hunter joins us now with our world news in 60 seconds. Molly, good morning.
Joe, Savannah, good morning. That's right. We are starting in Ukraine. This is major news there, where one of the biggest government crises since Moscow's full-scale invasion of the country is currently unfolding in Kyiv as Russia continues to pound the capital and critical energy infrastructure, forcing rolling blackouts, ahead of winter. A major embezzlement and kickback scandal has emerged. The energy and justice ministers have both submitted their resignations. It came after anti-corruption watchdogs revealed the findings of a 15-month investigation. Moving to France, where the country is marking a decade since the Bataclan attacks, with ceremonies this morning. It was November 13th, 2015, that Islamic State militants attacked the Bataclan concert hall in Paris, the National Stadium, as well as cafes around the city, killing 132 people, injuring hundreds. The attacks were the deadliest on French soil since the Second World War. And finally, for many teenagers in South Korea, today is seen as the most important day of their young lives. The college entry exam, known as Sunung, is seen as the way to not only get into university, but also a pathway to social mobility, financial success, and even marriage. You guys, flights are halted. The entire country grinds to a standstill. This is a lot of pressure as a teenager.
No kidding.
It sounds like kind of ramped up stakes from the SATs or the ACTs.
Oh,
no
PTSD,
kidding.
man.
It is someone who is a horrible standardized test taker. That sounds terrifying. So.
I feel like I don't believe that at all.
Right. Thanks, Molly. Appreciate it.
All right, this holiday season, some major retailers are going big on holiday cheer.
Target is rolling out a new program that encourages its workers to take customer service to a new level. And yet, the new policy has some grumpy shoppers saying, bah humbug. NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is here now with more on this. Emily, good morning.
Guys, good morning. So, see, I'm within 10 feet of you guys, so I have to engage, make eye contact, smile, and wave. If we're following Target's new guidance to employees of what to do with shoppers, the push for Christmas cheer comes as major retailers compete for customers' money in the critically important holiday season.
With the holiday shopping season already underway,
Christmas is the greatest day in the whole wide world.
Some retailers are putting holiday spirit at the top of their wish list. Target rolling out a new guest engagement program called 10-4.
Just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
At 10 feet, employees are being instructed to smile and wave to customers and use welcoming body language. If a shopper is just 4 feet away, they're expected to personally greet them and initiate a warm, helpful interaction. The retailer's chief stores officer calling it one of their new ways to increase connection during the most important time of year. But 10-4 doesn't have everyone smiling.
As a customer, I want to get in, I want to get out.
Some are wondering if a mandated festive feel will seem forced.
God, I hope someone walks up soon so I can say, welcome to Target. I just want to say, welcome to Target.
Target's not alone. Experts say some hotels, banks, and other retailers have leaned in. Walmart, famous for its store greeters, has a similar 10-foot rule. As big box retailers compete for consumers, prioritizing customer relations. In an increasingly tech-driven world, one recent study finding regular checkout improves customer loyalty to the store.
As we automate more, having that personal touch, that personal connection is very important. And so as a customer, if you're going into a store, you want to feel welcome.
Target hoping that personal touch will deliver a boost to its bottom line this holiday season after headwinds from shifts in consumer spending, tariff impacts, and customer backlash over its rollback of DEI policies.
In-store shopping is so important for brick and mortar retailers. And so it's really, really important that you get customers to come in, that they feel welcome, that they want to shop, that they maybe want to come back again.
As more retailers are targeting holiday cheer.
So as the role of the physical store has evolved, one survey shows the #1 thing driving people to shop in person this holiday season is festive ambiance with music, decor, customer service, prompting shoppers to linger and come back. That experience, especially in this automated era, is so important. So I think that's what we're seeing various retailers lean into more than ever.
It's very simple. If someone comes up to you and smiles or says hi to you, you just look at them, smile, say hello back, say thank you. It only makes everything better.
We're not talking about 6-7 anymore. It's 10-4.
Right. When I saw those numbers, I thought the same thing. I do have like a physical reaction to seeing a Christmas tree or seeing lights or hearing Christmas music. Like you're just like, oh yeah, it's Christmas time.
Yeah, that's why you're going in person, right?
Yes.
You want the experience.
Totally. Love it. I'm into it. All right, thanks, Emily.
Thanks, guys.
Coming up, penny pinched, a big change coming to our chain. Last penny is minted.
After the break, I'm going to look back on the life and legacy of the copper-coated darling. That is next on Morning News Now.
Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with a provision slipped into the bill to end the shutdown that has angered Speaker Mike Johnson.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin joins us with that and more. Julie, good morning.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. That's right. We begin right here in Washington because Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said the House will vote next week to undo a provision senators quietly slipped into the shutdown ending bill to get this. Allow them to sue the government for potentially millions of dollars if their data is obtained without their permission. You might be wondering, what's this about? Well, it specifically has to do with those 8 GOP senators whose phone records were accessed as part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. President Trump signed that bill, including that provision, into law last night. But Johnson says he was shocked and angry to find out about it. Even if the House votes to repeal it, the Senate would need to do it as well. Okay, let's zoom out now, because after Pope Leo spoke out for immigrants and urged bishops here in the U.S. to do the same, they did. America's Roman Catholic bishops are out with a statement saying they, quote, oppose the indiscriminate mass deportation of people and pray for an end to dehumanizing rhetoric and violence they say has been directed at immigrants and law enforcement. They did not call out President Trump by name, but said they felt compelled to take a stand because they love this country and pray for its peace and prosperity. And finally, if you love to have your morning cup of coffee like I do, it might cost you less soon. That's because Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said there would be substantial relief for everyday consumers on products like coffee, bananas, and other fruits the U.S. does not produce. Remember, this summer, President Trump's administration hiked tariffs on Brazil to 50%, causing coffee prices to surge. The Treasury Secretary also telling Americans to expect inflation to go down in the first few months of 2026. And that is a look at what is making news in politics this morning. Savannah, Joe?
All right, Julie, thank you.
The U.S. Mint created the final penny on Wednesday. Now, the 1-cent coin will remain in circulation. You can still use them, of course, but the government will no longer make them, saying it's too expensive. Now, I've done a lot of obituaries in my career on celebrities and other newsmakers, but this is my first obit for an inanimate object. It's not that the penny has died, it's just that we've now witnessed its final birth, which is why the goodbyes have now begun.
It might be small, 19 millimeters in diameter, but the pretty penny's legacy looms large.
Our children and our grandchildren will never know what that copper coin is.
For centuries, this copper-coated darling has granted wishes to those who flipped one in a fountain and bestowed luck upon those who've scooped one up off the ground. Even Homer Simpson.
I found a penny!
They've adorned loafers and filled piggy banks, but change is inevitable. Now, as we like to say, tributes are pouring in, with mourners offering their 2 cents.
I'm like, dang, like, moment of silence for Penny.
Born in 1793 in Philadelphia, the penny first featured a woman with flowing hair who symbolized liberty. It admittedly had some work done over the years, most notably in 1909 when President Lincoln graced the front. But recently, the coin started losing its battle with inflation. See, a penny can't even buy you a penny. It costs nearly 4 cents to make one. Which is why on Wednesday, the U.S. Mint pressed the final penny, a move expected to save $56 million a year.
We're not getting rid of the penny. We're discontinuing the production of it.
Though for some businesses, not making sense doesn't make sense. Some retailers are already seeing penny shortages and trying to figure out how to handle cash payments, which make up 17% of all transactions at Quick Trip convenience stores.
Here at Quick Trip, for the favor of our customers, we decided to round down for every transaction. That will cost us this year $3 million.
Feel about that?
Well, we wish there was a better option, but we have to do it for the sake of our customers. We didn't want to cheat them out of a single penny.
Final chapter of an epic story. The penny was 232 years old.
We should note it is estimated about 300 billion pennies are still estimated to be in circulation. Many of them may be hiding in your couch cushions. But those final ones minted yesterday, they won't be in circulation. They're going up for auction, and I'm guessing they'll cost more than a pretty penny.
No kidding. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, it's going to take time for them to fully go away. Right. But at the end of the day, it is only worth what it is worth so much. And people don't use them anymore. I mean, I can't think of the last time I've whipped out a penny.
Completely agree with you.
But I do have a pile.
The only coin is a quarter.
The quarter?
It's valuable, right?
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm like, I can put that in a vending machine. Like a dime, I don't even want that.
Exactly. The nickel actually costs more to make too than it's worth.
Okay, yeah.
So you have to wonder if the nickel's future is next. The dime and quarter are okay though.
Yeah, quarter useful. Others not so much. They're just annoying. Thanks, Joe. Coming up, your own personal Jesus, literally.
Fresh mode there. When we come back, the so-called digital awakening that's got some worshipers making the pilgrimage to artificial intelligence for spiritual satisfaction. We'll explain next.
Welcome back. A small-town newspaper in Kansas just got a multi-million-dollar settlement and a public apology after a controversial police raid that happened back in 2023. Reporter Isabella Ladon from our Kansas City affiliate has the story.
2 years after the raid, the Marion County Record is business as usual.
We're a little short today as we're trying to put out the paper.
Police claim the paper illegally obtained a local restaurant owner's driving record.
They just wanted to make a show. They wanted to be a bully.
That show included searching the home of Meyer's 98-year-old mother for hours.
I don't want you in my house.
She died the next day. Meyer says it was from stress.
This was just for intimidation.
Our KSHB 41I team investigation also uncovered former police chief Gideon Cody told the restaurant owner to delete text messages. Meyer and others sued Marion County, the city, and the police department.
The money was never the question. In fact, we didn't pay much attention to what the money was. The question was, we wanted to make sure that there was an admission that wrongdoing happened.
In a statement, the Marion County Sheriff apologized for being a part of executing the search warrants. To Meyer, that's worth more than the $3 million.
The watchdog gets attacked and the watchdog rolls over. Democracy suffers. This is a case where we didn't roll over.
How are you going to be moving forward?
I got to find a reporter and we got to put out a paper.
Meyer plans to use his settlement to keep the paper going. An unexpected ending to how this story started.
They tried to put us out of business by raiding us, and the result of their raiding us is going to be that we're guaranteed to stay in business for a long time. That makes me feel good.
All right, Isabella Ladon, thank you so much for that report.
Starbucks is bracing for major disruption on one of its biggest sales days. Barring a last-ditch agreement, the coffee chain's unionized workers are set to go on strike today.
Yeah, the strike action would coincide with Starbucks Red Cup Day. That is when it distributes these free reusable cups. It's one of the company's busiest days. Earlier this week, more than 100 lawmakers urged both sides to return to the bargaining table and avert the strike, which could impact 25 cities.
Investopedia editor-in-chief and People Inc. Chief Business Officer Caleb Silver is here to talk more about this one. So, Caleb, remind us what workers are demanding, how the company has responded. Do we think we could get a last-minute deal here?
Yeah, no contract, no coffee. And what these workers want, this is about 1,000 workers in about 65 stores that want higher wages, of course. They want improved hours, and they want a resolution of some of the unfair labor practices that they've accused Starbucks of over the years. So this comes at a difficult time. This is Red Cup Day, but it's also Starbucks' busiest season of the year. Could be disruptive, but keep in mind, Starbucks has more than 18,000 stores. So this is only about 1,000 stores, but it could spread potentially.
So they're holding this promotion. We have the cup because we talked about this last hour. It's this cup, reusable. You get it for free. You get to keep coming back and using it, which is a huge busy day for them. I mean, what do you think the impact could be specifically on a day like today?
Well, on a day like today, you could have people calling out of work, or those workers that are on strike that belong to Workers United not showing up for work. But Starbucks has a lot of employees and a lot of stores, so they might be able to absorb it today. It depends on how long this goes on. But this comes at a difficult time for Starbucks, which was trying to turn its momentum around. It had 2 straight years of declining same-store sales. Brian Niccol, who came over from Chipotle, has been trying to fix this with the Back to Starbucks campaign. Difficult time for the company.
How have things been going with that turnaround? Obviously, bringing in Brian Niccol from Chipotle was a key element to this, but have we started to see a change? What have been some of the headwinds that Starbucks has been facing?
Yeah, well, higher prices due to tariffs. They get a lot of their coffee from Brazil. We have 50% import tariffs on Brazil right now, but they get it from other places as well. Tons of competition. You can really go next door and get a good cup of coffee. But there was some small signs of a turnaround. For the first time last quarter, the company reported an increase in same-store sales. So they had a little bit of momentum going into this. Now, this has been brewing for a while. They sat down back in February to try to figure this out, to try to resolve this new collective bargaining agreement. It didn't work. Talks have definitely fallen apart right now. The question is, how long, and does this spread to other workers potentially?
See what happens. Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Thank you.
Let's stay with business news. Waymo's self-driving cars are taking customers onto the open road.
NBC's Emily Lorish joins us with that and some other money headlines. Emily, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Joe and Savannah. Waymo is hitting the highway literally. The Alphabet-owned company will now take riders in its driverless cars on freeways in 3 major U.S. cities, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix. It's the first time the company will take customers on major roadways with higher speed limits. Waymo's also expanding its services to more cities. It says the robotaxi service is coming to Miami, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. next year. And Kim Kardashian's Skims is tightening its grip on the fashion world, raising more $200 million in new funding, boosting its value to $5 billion. The shapewear brand is nearing $1 billion in annual sales, and its plans to use its additional funds to expand stores and launch new product lines. It's a big move for the company that started online and now wants to become a predominantly physical business. And just more than 100 days before the automaker enters Formula One, Audi is giving us a sneak peek of its first ever car for the motorsport. The automaker unveiled the car's look and color scheme at an event in Germany featuring titanium, carbon black, and of course, red. The full car reveal comes in January, and Audi's CEO saying, quote, "We are not entering Formula One just to be there. We want to win." So, of course, everyone will be anxiously awaiting to see if that's what they do.
Yeah.
Very excited about that. Cadillac also entering. It's going to be cool. Emily, thank you.
Looks different from an A4, though. All right, more and more people are turning to artificial intelligence this holiday season as a way to find spiritual guidance. Axios is calling it a new digital awakening, with more worshipers taking a leap of faith using AI-powered chatbots to connect with a higher power. NBC's Ann Thompson explains.
Hey there, file this under "it was bound to happen." Artificial intelligence can already correct our grammar, write essays, do research. The question now is, can it also deepen your faith? The simple answer, well, yes, because there's an app for that. Right next to your shopping, betting, and news apps, you can now click on a variety of new faith apps that offer spiritual experiences powered by artificial intelligence. There is a Bible AI to explore and converse about the good book. On your desktop, Episcobot answers questions about the Episcopal Church. And yes, there's even text with Jesus.
I can text questions to Jesus, and he responds,
promising a deeper connection with the Bible's most iconic figures, including Satan, although he's only available to premium users. I wanted to text with Jesus. Dear God. Exactly.
I'm going to ask Jesus why bad things happen to good people.
It uses your name if you want.
And my heart aches with yours when you see pain.
And cites Bible verses in the answers.
And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God.
Stefan Peter developed the app.
So who am I really texting with when I text with Jesus?
Well, you're obviously talking to an AI chatbot, basically pretending to be these people, pretending to be Jesus or any of the apostles.
Some believe this is a bad thing.
It is a slippery slope when you're running to these AI chats more than you're consulting with the Lord.
Religious researcher Robert P. Jones has doubts.
And the challenge, of course, is that we have no idea what's under the hood there, what's really creating the reality that then they present.
Today, nearly 30% of Americans say they have no religious affiliation, and as many as 15,000 churches are predicted to close this year. So could AI help revive America's religious spirit?
I use AI to help me find texts. I use AI to help challenge my thinking.
Rabbi Daniel Bogard uses AI in his work leading St. Louis's Central Reform Synagogue.
What is the danger of using AI when it comes to religion?
I think the danger is always that we are losing sight of humanity and human connection.
That danger is a constant focus for Pope Leo.
It must not be forgotten that artificial intelligence functions as a tool for the good of human beings, not to diminish them, not to replace them.
A new technology offering a new path to faith and practices as old as time. Stefan tells me that Text with Jesus has about 150,000 users, but the app is still a work in progress. He's currently experimenting with voice features and looking to add even more characters to the biblical roster. He says in a few weeks, just in time for Christmas, users will be able to chat with the three wise men. Back to you.
All right, Ann, thank you.
That is something.
Coming up, we are celebrating a storied culture this November that is uniquely American.
Yeah, it's Native American Heritage Month, and when Morning News Now returns, we're digging into sights and smells of indigenous cuisine, brought to us in part by a 3-time James Beard award-winning chef. We hope you're hungry this morning. That's up next.
Welcome back. November is National Native American Heritage Month, so we want to end this hour with a new book that celebrates indigenous culture through its food. It's a cookbook titled Turtle Island. It's a collaboration between 3-time James Beard award-winning chef Sean Sherman and award-winning writer and editor Kate Nelson. But it's not your average cookbook. It's an exploration of the food, tradition, and history of the indigenous people of North America.
It's a legacy that's been passed down for generations, but is often overlooked today. Turtle Island officially hit store shelves on Tuesday, and it's already been praised as one of the top cookbooks this fall.
We are excited to have Chef Sean Sherman and Kate Nelson join us now. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for taking time to chat with you. I know you kick off your book tour officially tonight in Washington, then tomorrow you'll be here in New York. Chef Sherman, I want to start with you. Congrats. Tell us about the title, Turtle Island. What's the significance of it, and why did you choose that as the title?
Absolutely. Thanks for having us. Turtle Island is kind of a pan-indigenous notion of the world being born on the back of a turtle shell. So a lot of tribes utilize that notion of Turtle Island meaning and signifying North America, which is why we did this book, because it looks at North America without colonial borders, from Mexico through Alaska, and showcasing all the indigenous diversity that's out there.
Kate, tell us about what's in this book. I know it's more than 150 recipes, but they're ancestral and modern. What can people expect? How's it different maybe than other cookbooks out there?
So, it is first and foremost a cookbook, but it's so much more than that because it has so many deep stories about how food, culture, history, and land are all intertwined, because we really wanted to showcase that, for Indigenous communities, food isn't just about nourishing our bodies. It's also about preserving culture, telling stories, and sharing our traditions, beyond our Indigenous communities.
Chef Sherman, you have been a chef for more than 30 years. You're one of the leaders of the Indigenous food movement. Your restaurant in my hometown in Minneapolis, Owamni, is legendary, uses no ingredients that Europeans introduced to the continent. So we're talking about no wheat flour, no cane sugar. Talk to us about why you started cooking in the first place and just why this Indigenous food movement is so important to you.
Well, I'm Gen X, so I was latchkey, so I had to start cooking at home right away. And I jumped into restaurants when I was 13 years old, and I just kind of went through all high school, college, and eventually moved to Minneapolis and made my way into a chef career at a pretty young age, but eventually found my calling of just trying to focus on my own heritage and just addressing the fact that there are very few Native restaurants out there, if any, and that we should have more Native American restaurants across Native America.
Kate, I know that you traveled far and wide while making this book. I'm wondering if you can just tell us some of your favorites, both when it comes to who you met and recipes.
Okay, well, that's tough because, in these different communities within these regions, there were so many unique stories, but also really shared ones around, again, how important food is and how, up in Alaska, I'm Alaska Native, so up in, my home region, that food security is food sovereignty, meaning that, these traditions have been preserved not just for cultural reasons, but also out of a need. So for me, the hot smoked salmon recipe is a favorite, but really with more than 150 recipes, hard to pick just one dish.
I bet.
Chef Sherman, is there a recipe in here or just a couple that you can talk about that just might surprise people? Something you discovered while researching this book that you're just incredibly excited to share with people about, something that they can do that maybe they didn't think was possible?
Well, I think that there's just a lot of seasonal and regional foods to showcase the differences between what's the foods of northern Alaska versus the East Coast versus the Southwest versus southern Mexico. And, and we shot a lot of these photographs in season. So something like a goldenrod shoots, in the springtime, and having a very simple recipe with using just foods coming out of the spring in the Great Lakes region, for example. And so we really tried to make food taste like where it is, and really kind of using that challenge of cutting away colonial ingredients and focusing on what are the indigenous ingredients that sets all the regions apart, So there's so many recipes, it's really hard to choose just one. And not every recipe in this book you'll be able to make, because there's a lot of plant and protein diversity across this book. There's everything from seal and bear and javelina and deer and all sorts of things, on top of the massive plant diversity.
I think right when people have a cookbook, one of the main things that they're just trying to get out of it is dinner on the table that night. But when it has this deeper meaning and to you and a potential experience for learning for people, there's so much more to it. I'd love to hear from each of you, if you don't mind, just what it is that you hope that someone takes away from this book.
At the very least, people should understand that Indigenous cultures and communities are here. We're alive, we're thriving. And like Sean said, that there is so much variety and diversity, and that there's a lot of, knowledge and ancestral wisdom that's been passed down generation to generation that we all can benefit from and share. So we really welcome people in to learn more about our communities, our cultures, and, the foods that you can cook from this as well.
Yeah, and I would say that, food is such a powerful language that I hope that people could really start to understand and empathize with different cultures from all over the place, especially in a world where we're demonizing people for speaking Spanish, and I think that these colonial borders have crossed all of our indigenous territories, and this looks at what does the world look like without these colonial borders, and how can we start to appreciate diversity instead of trying to be afraid of it and homogenize everything.
I love that. Food is a language. Chef Sean Sherman, Kate Nelson, congrats on the book, which is out now, Turtle Island. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Goodbye.
That is going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.